All right, get ready for this deep dive. Today we're going somewhere completely different. We're going to explore the wisdom of Vicentina. She's a 77-year-old woman who says she sees and hears spirits.
Yeah, and what makes this even more interesting is that her teachings are like really rooted in her Catholic faith.
Yeah.
But she mixes that with this ability to like perceive the spirit world. It's like she's connecting two different worlds.
Yeah, our source material is this YouTube video.
Yeah.
And it feels so personal, like we're just sitting on her porch listening to her share her life lessons. Have you ever encountered this kind of perspective before?
You know, it's pretty rare to hear someone talk so openly about their spiritual experiences, especially within a traditional religious framework. It's like she's inviting us to expand our understanding of what's possible.
Definitely. One of the first things that stood out to me was her perspective on life's challenges. She talks about carrying the cross that Jesus gave her and how she sees difficulties as tests of faith.
But it's not just passively accepting hardship, though, right? She emphasizes the importance of action, of working through challenges and learning from them.
Exactly. It's about actively engaging with life, even when things get tough. And she doesn't try to hide the realities of aging either. She talks about feeling overlooked and the importance of finding self-worth as we get older.
And this is where it gets really interesting. She doesn't dwell on the negatives of aging. Instead, she focuses on how we can use these experiences to grow, spiritually and emotionally.
So it's about finding that inner strength and resilience, even when the world might be telling you you're not as valuable anymore.
Exactly. And I think that's where her faith plays a crucial role. She talks about prayer, especially to Nossa Senhora Aparecida, as a source of comfort and guidance. It's like she's drawing strength from a higher power to navigate the challenges of aging.
And it's not just about personal strength, is it? She also emphasizes kindness and generosity. She even shares a story about helping her neighbor financially.
Yeah, that story really stood out to me too. It shows that her belief in kindness isn't just theoretical. She actually puts it into practice, even when it might be personally challenging.
It's almost like she sees generosity as a way to combat that feeling of being overlooked that she mentioned earlier. By giving to others, she's actively engaging with the world and affirming her own worth.
That's a great insight. It suggests that her actions are deeply connected to her beliefs about aging and finding meaning in life.
And this connection to meaning seems to tie into her perspective on forgiveness as well. She believes that holding on to resentment hurts us more than the person we're angry with.
Yeah, it's about recognizing that forgiveness is ultimately an act of self-care. It's about freeing ourselves from the burden of negative emotions.
But she doesn't pretend that forgiveness is easy. It's a process, and sometimes it's a painful one.
Absolutely. And I think that's where her faith comes in again. She seems to find strength in her belief that there's a higher purpose, a divine plan that guides us even through difficult emotions like anger and resentment.
It's like she's saying that even our negative emotions could be opportunities for spiritual growth if we approach them with the right mindset.
Exactly. And this idea of spiritual growth through challenges really seems to be at the core of her teachings.
Speaking of challenges, I have to bring up that funny story she told about the barking dog. It's like a perfect little anecdote that illustrates her approach to life.
Oh, yeah. The dog that kept interrupting her video recording. What struck you about that story?
Well, instead of getting frustrated, she chose to see the humor in it. She even joked about the dog conspiring against her.
It's such a great example of her ability to reframe a potentially negative situation into something lighthearted.
And it's not just about finding a way to laugh it off. It's about recognizing that we have a choice in how we respond to these everyday annoyances.
That's a crucial point. She's not advocating for ignoring or suppressing negative emotions. It's about acknowledging them and then choosing a response that aligns with our values. In her case, that response is often humor and a deep-seated sense of patience.
And that patience seems to stem from her faith too, right? She sees challenges as tests from a higher power.
Absolutely. It's like she's saying that even the barking dog is part of a larger spiritual journey, an opportunity to practice patience and maintain her inner peace.
It's a beautiful way of looking at it, and it really resonates with her overall message of finding the good in every situation. But you know what else really caught my attention? Her belief in the book of life. The idea that our every thought and action is being recorded.
Yes. That's a fascinating concept. It adds another layer to her teachings, suggesting that we should live with intention, knowing that our choices have lasting consequences.
But she doesn't present it in a fear-based way at all. It's not about judgment or punishment.
Right. It's about recognizing the significance of our choices and striving to live a life that reflects our highest values.
And it makes me wonder, if we truly believed that our lives were being recorded for all eternity, how would it change the way we approach each day?
That's a powerful question to ponder. Would we be more mindful of our thoughts and actions? more compassionate in our interactions, more dedicated to making a positive impact on the world.
I think Vicentina's story challenges us to consider those questions. It's an invitation to live with more intention, to embrace kindness and forgiveness, and to find that inner strength that allows us to face life challenges with grace and resilience.
And what's particularly inspiring is that she's not just talking about these concepts, she's living them out in her daily life.
Exactly. And there's so much more to unpack here, especially when it comes to her unique perspective on blending traditional Catholicism with her ability to see spirits. Let's dive deeper into that after a quick.
Hold on. Before we move on, I think we should linger on this idea of the Book of Life a bit longer. It's such a rich concept, and I'm curious to hear your thoughts on it.
You're right. It's definitely worth exploring further. What specifically jumps out at you?
Well, for me, it raises the question of perspective. If our lives are being recorded, who's doing the recording? And what criteria are they using to judge our actions?
Ooh, that's a good one. Is it about adhering to specific rules or doctrines? Or is it about something more fundamental like the intention behind our actions?
And how does Vicentina's belief in the Book of Life influence her own choices and behaviors? Does it make her more cautious or more inclined to take risks?
These are great questions, and I think they get to the heart of what makes Vicentina's teaching so compelling. She's not just giving us a set of rules to follow. She's inviting us to engage in a deeper exploration of what it means to live a meaningful and spiritually fulfilling life.
Absolutely. And I think that's what makes this deep dive so fascinating. It's not just about learning about Vicentina's beliefs. It's about using her story as a springboard for our own reflections on life's spirituality and the choices we make each day.
So before we jump into her unique perspective on Catholicism and the spirit world, let's take a moment to really consider this idea, the Book of Life. What does it mean to you? How would it change your approach to life? We'll come back to that after a quick.
Actually, you know what? I think we're on a roll here. Let's keep this conversation flowing and see where it takes us. We can always circle back to those other topics later.
I love that. All right, let's delve deeper into this Book of Life concept and see what other insights emerge.
This Book of Life thing, it really makes you think, you know? If everything we do is being recorded, does that mean even our smallest actions matter?
That's what's so interesting to me, too. Vicentina doesn't seem to differentiate between big and small acts.
Yeah.
It's all part of the tapestry of our lives.
Yeah, and if that's true, then even something as simple as smiling at a stranger or helping someone carry groceries could have a huge impact.
Right. It makes me rethink all those times where I might have been dismissive or impatient. Would I have acted differently if I truly believed it was being recorded forever?
That's a really good question. And it makes me think about the intention behind our actions. Is it enough to just go through the motions? Or does our motivation matter too?
Vicentina seems to put a lot of emphasis on intention. She talks about cultivating joy and looking for the good in life, almost like it's a conscious choice we make every day.
Yeah, and that goes back to her belief in carrying the cross that Jesus gave her. It's not about just passively enduring hardship, but about actively choosing to find meaning and purpose in every experience, even the hard ones.
Remember that story she told about lending money to her neighbor? She didn't have much herself, but she still chose to help.
That's a great example. It wasn't just about giving money. It was about embodying compassion and generosity, in a real way.
And it shows her belief that when we help others, we also help ourselves. It's almost like she's finding self-worth through acts of kindness.
That's an interesting connection. It suggests that her generosity isn't just about altruism. It's also about nourishing her own spirit and reinforcing her belief in the goodness of humanity.
And that belief in goodness really shines through in her interactions with others. Even when she talks about the challenges of aging, like feeling overlooked, there's this sense of hope and resilience in her voice.
It's like she's refusing to be defined by those limitations. She's choosing to focus on the positive, on cultivating joy and finding ways to connect with others.
And this brings me to another part of her teachings that I find so interesting. Her perspective on Catholicism.
Yes, this is where her story gets really fascinating.
She's a devout Catholic, prays the rosary, and even talks about Nossa Senhora Aparecida with such reverence.
But then she drops this bomb. She sees spirits.
It's almost jarring at first, right?
Yeah.
How can those two worlds coexist in one person?
That's what's so compelling about her perspective. It challenges our ideas about spirituality and religion.
She doesn't try to explain it away or fit it into any categories. It just I-S.
And what's remarkable is that she doesn't see her ability to see spirits as contradicting her Catholic faith. She actually seems to view them as complementary.
It's like she's saying that spirituality isn't limited to any one dogma or belief system. It's something much bigger.
And maybe her ability to see spirits actually strengthens her faith. It gives her a direct experience of the unseen world, a real reminder of the spiritual forces around us.
It makes me think about that phrase she uses all the time. Anjo de luz, angel of light. She addresses her viewers as angels. It's so sweet.
It's more than just a cute thing, though. It reflects her worldview, her beliefs that everyone has a spark of divinity in them.
It's like she's seeing the best in everyone, even those she's never met. And that connects back to her emphasis on kindness and generosity.
Right. It's about recognizing the worth and dignity of every person, no matter their background or beliefs.
And it makes me wonder, how does her ability to see spirits affect her interactions with others? Does it make her more compassionate, more understanding?
That's a great question. It's like she has this extra layer of perception, an awareness of the unseen energies that might be influencing people's behavior.
Maybe that's what gives her such a strong sense of patience and acceptance. She understands that everyone is carrying their own burdens, their own unseen struggles.
It reminds me of that story she told about the barking dog.
The one that kept interrupting her video.
Yeah, she didn't get mad or frustrated. She chose to find it funny.
She even joked that the dog was conspiring against her.
Exactly. And it's such a good example of how she responds to challenges with grace and acceptance.
And it makes me think maybe her ability to see spirits gives her a different perspective on those everyday annoyances.
Perhaps she sees the barking dog as more than just annoying. Maybe she senses the dog's anxieties or fears, and that lets her respond with more compassion.
That's a really cool thought.
Yeah.
And it makes me want to reconsider my own reactions to those little things in life.
Mm-hmm.
Am I being too quick to judge? Could I be more understanding?
Those are good questions to ask ourselves, especially in a world that often encourages us to be selfish and focus on our own needs.
Vicentina's example reminds us that there's a bigger picture, a spiritual dimension that we might not always see.
And that brings us back to the Book of Life idea. If our actions have consequences we don't fully understand, then it's even more important to act with intention, with kindness, and with an awareness that we're all connected.
It's a powerful message, and I think it really resonates with her teachings overall.
Absolutely. And it makes me wonder how this Book of Life belief influences her views on forgiveness.
Ooh, that's a great point. If we're always being recorded, does that make it even more important to let go of grudges and resentment?
And how does she balance the idea of divine justice with her belief in forgiveness? Does she believe that those who hurt us will be held accountable, even if we forgive them?
Those are interesting questions.
Yeah.
And I think they go to the core of her perspective on spirituality and morality.
It's like she's giving us a new way to see the world, a way that challenges our assumptions and makes us consider a broader view of reality.
And it all comes from this 77-year-old woman who sees spirits and shares her wisdom on YouTube. Who would have thought?
It shows us that wisdom can come from anywhere, and that sometimes the simplest stories have the deepest truths.
Speaking of simple stories, Vicentina shared some anecdotes that really bring her teachings to life. One in particular really stands out to me, and it perfectly captures her approach to life.
I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
It was when she was talking about struggling to exercise.
Mm-hmm.
Something we can all relate to.
Oh, for sure. Especially as we get older, it's easy to let those healthy habits go. But what was interesting was how she talked about it.
Yeah, she didn't blame herself or make excuses. She talked about it like it was a test of her willpower.
Like it was a chance to get stronger, not just physically, but mentally and spiritually too.
And then she said this thing that just totally changed my perspective. She said, if you don't take care of your body, where will your soul live?
Whoa, that's deep. It connects the physical and spiritual in a way I never thought of before.
Yeah, it makes self-care seem almost sacred. Like we have this duty to care for our bodies because they hold our souls.
Like she's saying that if we ignore our physical health, we're ignoring our spiritual well-being too.
It makes me think about all those times I put off exercise or ate unhealthy food. Was I neglecting my soul too?
It's something to think about, and it connects back to that Book of Life idea. If our actions have consequences that last, then even small choices about our health matter more.
Like each decision is like a brushstroke on the painting of our lives, building the whole picture.
And that picture is being recorded forever, according to Vicentina.
It's kind of scary, but also inspiring. It pushes us to live with intention, to make choices that reflect what we believe in, and to treat our bodies and souls with respect.
It reminds us that spirituality isn't just about ideas or rituals. It's about how we actually live our lives, how we treat each other and ourselves, and the choices we make.
Vicentina's story shows how spirituality can be part of everyday life.
She finds the sacred in the ordinary, the profound in the simple.
And she shows us that even when things are tough, we can choose joy, be kind, and find meaning in our lives.
Her story encourages us to embrace life with all its ups and downs and try to leave the world better than we found it.
As we finish this deep dive into Vicentina's wisdom, I'm feeling really grateful.
Grateful that she shared her story, her unique perspective, and her teachings.
And grateful for the reminder that we can all live amazing lives, full of purpose, compassion, and connection to something bigger.
It's a good message to have with us on our own journeys.
Maybe as we go about our days, we can remember Vicentina's words and try to live in a way that's worthy of being in that book of life.
May we choose kindness, forgive others, and never stop looking for the good, even when things are hard.
Thanks for joining us on this incredible deep dive. Until next time, keep searching, keep exploring, and keep embracing the beauty of life.